too far into the
Yeah,
conversation
right,
because
right,
then
right,
we're gonna leave a lot of the good stuff on the cutting floor. So,
sure.
um, again, thank you guys for coming in. As you guys have saw by the thumbnail, this is Ricky from Coast Fish Club. Now,
It's just
the only gripe I have with your guys' club name is how
oh,
long and difficult. I'm glad you guys abbreviate it to Coast. But
yeah.
what do the initials stand for? Because I never get it right.
So it's a long name. I actually don't know who came up with it because the club basically has been around um, informally since the 70s, the late
Okay.
70s, and incorporated in 1991. So I've seen some documents that go back way decades, right? So shout out to all the former board members, past presidents, etc. But they came up with the name at that time. C.O.A.S.T stands for California's Organization of Aquatic Show Tropicals. So it is a long name. And whoever did it clearly loved angels because we have
Yeah.
some angels in our logo there. Um, so it's a long name, but I like it because when it is abbreviated, coast is kind of like where we're from. We're from the West Coast. We're here by the sunny beaches of Southern California. So we're blessed in that sense. But we have a really active community, really good, strong club membership, and I think that's kind of the thing that we need as a community of hobbyists is to have an outlet for our community.
Yeah. I I kind of envy the fact that you guys have that opportunity, kind of like the San Diego guys.
Mm.
That they're able to have a club out there. I'm in no man's land. I'm out here. I'm in Arizona, but I'm not even in Phoenix. If I were in Phoenix, that'd be a different story.
Right, right, right.
Uh, I just cheated. I just went past the state line, just left California, just passed it, and came to Yuma, Arizona, which is
Mm.
basically the only thing that divides us is a bridge that goes over the Colorado River, and on the other side, on the west bank, it's California. Eastern bank is Arizona. So I didn't leave California too much. I guess I didn't do the full committal and go all the way down to central Phoenix, down there, central Arizona to Phoenix, where
Right.
everybody's at. But that's why being here still grants me the opportunity not only to drive up to Phoenix, but go visit you guys down there in Orange County, go to San Diego. It's a drivable. I know most people won't even want to drive an hour, but for me, driving 4.5, 5 hours to go do something, and it's well worth it to me.
Right.
But that's just because I'm used to driving a lot.
Like what I've noticed is that the hobbyists that are in the hobby, who maybe they've been in it for decades, maybe they're new, but the ones who are willing to drive and travel usually have the best fish rooms because you get
Yep.
fish from everywhere and all breeders from every place, and you never know what you'll find. So, if you're willing to make the drive out and find your local fish store, seek out your local fish club, um, you'd be surprised. Obviously, this is a hobby that some people would say is like technically for maybe introverts or people that like being homebodies, but the reality is there's a community for every hobby, and as long as you can find your club, or maybe
Yeah.
you need to make your club, make a community for yourself. That's kind of something that drew me to Coast, basically. So.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing that I did notice, and I learned this because they had an event in Phoenix called C.O.A.S.T, which is the
Yeah.
Southwest Aquarium Keepers event or something like that, and it's really neat because they bring some of the different local clubs. Because in Phoenix you have just your regular aquarium, it's the Southwest Aquatic Society, SAS. You have the Killifish group,
Right.
and you have a plants enthusiast, and all three of them come together and they have this event called Sake. And when I attended that event, I noticed that there was people there coming up from your guys' area, from Orange County, and the guys from San Diego. Those guys travel everywhere because anytime I've gone to within this triangle region, I
Right.
always run into somebody from the San Diego Fish Club.
Right. Right. Right.
They travel everywhere where they can They if they can drive to it, they'll travel to it.
Yeah, we have a lot of keepers from the San Diego club that are also Coast members, or they've also attended our meetings.
Yeah.
I know Angel, one of the presidents of the SD Tropical Fish Society. She was at Coast Aqua Swap, which was our event that just happened in April before the Medaka Fest that just happened on Sunday. So our club travels well too. We have a lot of members that get out there, including like our club president Ross, for example, and
Mm-hmm.
the crew that goes with him a lot of places. They travel everywhere. So Coast is well represented.
Yeah, and I noticed that about that region of the clubs in that region that you guys really do go out and try to get. Have you guys been up to Findig from
Yeah,
your guys'
yeah.
club?
Shout out to the Sacramento Aquarium Society, President Nico and the guys up there, the girls and gals. They've also were at our Aqua Swap 2025 as well. They had a table and a booth with us. We kind of consider them like a sister club. We sort of took inspiration from their Findig to kind of create Aqua Swap. So this year is our second year that we did Aqua Swap, and
Okay.
first year was last year, headed by Ross at that time and our former VP Scotty Johnson. So they kind of, it was like the first time we wanted to sort of do an event like the Findig, but we had to work through the growing pains of it, which led to me coming on this past year as the new VP of C.O.A.S.T. So I've only been in my term for a year now, basically, and coming up on a year rather. And basically, I helped to basically get us to the next place with Aquaswap this year and working with Medaka Fest and Nolan's, and that's how I met you on Sunday. So
Yeah.
thank you for coming out and visiting us in our little.
No, I've been following you guys. That whole crew out there that Nolan has, you and Dank, and I've been watching you guys. I've been watching you guys on Instagram. You guys are more active on Instagram than you guys are on any of the other social medias. But that's what I keep telling. Like, I guess if I had to not choose, but my biggest presence is probably on YouTube, but it's not that much smaller than it is on Instagram, but I don't necessarily post on Instagram as consistently as I do on YouTube. And then I also do TikTok, just because I know what I've learned in the short time of doing this is that each platform has communities, and they're not always the same community. It's not the same people. There's like, it's weird that there's these
Wait, you're
big
telling
big
me people in Facebook are not the same people on TikTok?
See, that's the only one.
Never have guessed.
Yeah, that's the only one that I don't seem to be as active. I have default stuff that goes in because some of the platforms, if you post it on there, will automatically post it on Facebook.
Right.
But Facebook, I got tired of Facebook really quick because I don't know why the toxic level is much higher at Facebook than any of the other platforms.
I agree with you. I'm not a big fan of it, but I think what's interesting is it's very big amongst the elderly and the older generation. I'm not going to say senior because it's. But basically, a lot of people, a lot of fish keepers and hobbyists are super active on Facebook as groups, just like our group, Coast Fish Club. We have like 2,500 active members. It is a private group, but very inclusive. So if you're even if you're not an active paid dues member of Coast, you can still be part of our community by joining our Facebook group, Coast Fish Club, and we have a lot of active members even on our Facebook. So it's one of those things like don't really use it for my personal stuff anymore, but I definitely use it for checking out the clubs, and not just Coast Club, but there's a lot of other clubs out there like Scape's another one. They're big on Facebook as well, and they're another club out here in the Orange County area that's active. So yeah, the Orange County and SoCal region is I would say pretty blessed that we have like the community of stores, of owners, and of hobbyists. So it's nice to be able to give back to the community, like at events like Medaka Fest and Aquaswap.
Now, has there always been events going on in Southern California? Because I know I've been doing YouTube for, I think I'm going on 4 years now. But prior to that, I used to watch. I used to be a consumer. I used to be just kind of in the chat and didn't do any content. But I never saw anything come up for Southern California as far as club related stuff or expos or anything. The only thing that I knew that would happen was like Reefa Palooza, but
Mm.
I'm not a reefer, so it wasn't something that I was interested in.
Yeah,
And it seems like recently there's a little bit more activity. Is that just
I would,
my perspective, or is it
no,
something that is?
I think you're onto something. I think the timeline you're mentioning to me sounds like, let's say, if like 5, 6 years ago. I think that's kind of when Aquashella was starting to get taking place. I might my years might be a little off there, but it's somewhere around that timeline. And of course, the pandemic affected things, right? So people couldn't be as active with the clubs and engagement during that time, right? But I think coming out of the pandemic, coming into this situation now, we're in 2025. I think we've seen more engagement into the club events and doing these types of things. Definitely with Coast for sure. That's just something that we recognized that we needed to do if we wanted to build our community and build our membership. And we needed to find ways to give back to our, not just our members, but really the partners that we work with, from the brands that we work with, our sponsors that sponsor the club, to the local fish stores that we've partnered with. You know, we've basically gone on to add something like 10 different local fish stores across the board in Southern California, like a map of partners that our Coast members can go to and receive discounts anywhere from like 5 to 15%. Nolan's being 15%, one of the most that we can get from our members. So that kind of stuff really allows us to do events because, you know, we try to grow our influence and our sphere of influence, and then by doing so, we gather all these partners from different parts of the community for fish keeping. Like, for example, we just worked with the American Medaka Association, the AMA, to help host their inaugural event for the Medaka Fest, and we basically put our support to allow them to kind of get their legs underneath them, get going. And it was a success. We had a great time, and they were really appreciative of the fact that we helped put that on with them and with Nolan. So I feel like now is the time really to build upon it with the social media, you know, with the fact that people can learn and get the information about aquariums online. But sometimes it's nice to be able to walk into a room of like-minded people that is friendly, and that you can come and ask people, hey, like, how do I accomplish this goal in my hobby? So that's sort of what we feel is the benefit of being part of the club.
Yeah, and I know I've mentioned this a few times to you guys that I think that a lot of the reason why you guys are so relevant um, in the, I guess, in the social media sphere is because you guys are utilizing it to your advantage. Um, One of the biggest things that I remember from like event like Acoshella was the big appeal to go to that show was because a lot of the content creators you would watch on YouTube well, YouTube has always been like the biggest platform before
Yeah.
Instagram and all that. But that was like an opportunity to go meet some of these people that would be there in attendance. You guys kind of took a little bit of that page by having the Hawaiian fish keeper help you guys out promote this last event. And I know
Oh,
you did it for your own swap. And I
right,
think that's pretty smart in the fact that it does, it's taking advantage of the fact that they do have a captive audience
of course.
and helping promote it out there, because their followings are not just where they're from. It's, countrywide. So you're going to find people that are going to be in the SoCal region that follow them, and they hear about the event, and it's like, oh, this is going on, and he might be there, so we might be able to go
Oh, absolutely.
meet him in person. And I think that was really, really smart. I know Mel really worked with you guys a lot because
Hmm.
the relationship he has with Nolan. It's something that goes back several years and stuff like that. But I kind of see the fact that you guys are pretty savvy in the fact that you guys are using the free advertisement that's available to you guys, the marketing through social media. You
Mm.
guys have a really good group of people, but see, you're kind of in a unique situation because not only are you the vice president of Coast, but you also are an employee for Nolan's Aquarium,
Oh,
and
can't tell
you know.
that.
Oh, this people didn't know that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just joking. I do work there on the weekends. I'll help out, basically usually Sundays. So if you ever see me at Nolan's, just say hi. But yeah, I do. I am one of the team members at Nolan's. So shout out to my team. We definitely work together. I kind of had to play hands in both roles on Sunday, working with Nolan and the team at Nolan, as well as obviously handling responsibilities for Coast. Um, but it's fun for me. I'm enjoying it. It's building upon a vision and executing, right. And I have a background, of course, in business and with marketing
No.
too. So it just kind of made sense for me to basically come into Coast with the intention of helping build the community further and using my skills to basically help create the value that I wanted, that I saw could be the potential for like our community in Coast and basically for the clubs. So like you said, if more clubs can be engaged with social media, if they can maybe get more people involved with that, managing the club, or helping with the club, I think that would be really good for the communities across the whole United States, not just here in Southern California.
Well, and the other thing is also is, and this is something that I see even when I go to my local club. Well, local, but when I go to the Southwest Aquatic Society, is most of the members are a little bit older. They're kind of like in my generation and stuff like that.
Shout
But
out to all the OGs out there.
but it's great, and there's always that conversation that takes place at the club. How do we get younger people to attend? And some of it is just they're just saying it to say it, and they're not really meaning it, because when ideas from the younger generations come through, they kind of shoot them down, and there's like, oh no, that's not, we don't want to do that. Well, but it
Yeah.
doesn't seem like I get that from your guys' club, because I think they've found the value in it, and they're kind of letting you run with it. And not only that, but I see that, I've been to one meeting down with you guys, and the group dynamic was a little bit more varied. It wasn't just a bunch of old heads that were going to a fish club. You had younger people that were attending, and I thought that was really interesting, because that's the way you're going to keep a club alive, is by being able to bring in younger people that can get involved. And I think you guys are striking a pretty good balance of doing that.
Well, I mean, we're blessed to be again in an area of the United States that has a really big population. Right, Southern California is massive in that sense. So we have a strong pull of from all different regions. It's not just the LA and Orange County area, but as far as San Diego, and as far north as Fresno and Sacramento, even. So we have members that even potentially at one point were down here and have moved on to other areas of California and outside of California, but they maintain ties. So like one of our former presidents, Brian, he's out in the UK now, but when he comes out, he still shows up and shows love to the club, and it's kind of cool to just see multiple generations of fish keepers that have been involved in the club or have given back to the club in some way. Maybe the club's no longer a part of their time currently, but they still show that they were, they come out and they say hi to all their former friends and colleagues, and maybe some of the newer people in the club are like, "Oh, who's that? I don't know who this person is," right? But the point is, when we have this community of people coming together every month, because we meet every first Sunday of the month, you start to see familiar faces, whether they're young, whether they're old, and we start striking up conversations about the fish that we keep, the hobbies that we are currently engaged in. Like some of us are not even just in fish, but they do frogs and invertebrates and other things as well. So it's pretty interesting to see the diversity of Coast.
Yeah. How long have you been involved with the club?
I've been a member, I want to say, coming up on 3 years, maybe 2.5 or so. So I'm relatively new
Okay.
to the club, and about a year after joining is when I became the vice president. Not right away. I kind of started initially to do the marketing and the social media and the website, etc. So I do all that, and then eventually I took on that mantle of VP when our former VP Scotty needed to exit his responsibilities. So it's been coming up now on October will be my first year term. So generally speaking, Coast we hold our vote for our upcoming year elections in October, and then by January is basically when the new board or members and chair people take place. And we try to have a tight ship running for the board.
Now, are you guys allowed to run again, or are you guys limited by terms, or how does your club
How do we operate
board
on
work?
that? Yeah, we just vote, and there's no term limits. We've had presidents that have been presidents for 10 years or so. It's really just a matter of who is willing to volunteer their time and effort. You know, when you're involved in a hobby and you are doing something like providing your time and your energy to a club, it's to some degree it's a volunteer, selfless thing. You're not really making money.
Yeah.
If you are, it's for the benefit of the club and the organization. Um, so it's one of those things that I feel like you have to kind of build upon that, you know. So
Well, not to discourage people from wanting to participate a little bit, more serious, like becoming part of the board members or whatever. But how much of a time committal would you say that this has been for you? I mean, how much of your,
oh,
just out of curiosity?
it's been a lot. It's been a lot. This first year has been a lot of hustling and working behind the scenes, not just with the board, um, but a lot of projects that I have to manage outside of that. But it's I'm in a position and a place right now that allows for me to be pulling in this way, right? Obviously, you never know what can happen in the future, um, but at least for now, I kind of when I was called uh, to basically be a volunteer Coast about a year and a half ago, they were basically asking the audience, the members, we could really use some help. This is kind of what we're looking at. We could really use support in these areas. So, you know, um, I was basically like, hey, maybe I can help out with some of the stuff, right? Like I saw the benefit that I could bring to Coast, and I saw kind of a trajectory that I thought we could, map out for helping the club grow. And I think in this past year, we've accomplished those goals. We wanted to have a successful aqua swap, really put our name on that one. And then we also supported Nolan and the American Madaka Association, their inaugural event, which I know they're going to grow on to be doing really big things for years to come, the AMA. So I'm really excited to be working with them. I'm also a member of the AMA myself. So really, I think it's the kind of thing to do where we're starting to see more of the younger hobbyists seeing what we're doing now and recognizing the value of like, oh, this is actually really fun, like doing a festival type event or a swap meet event where we can come together and sell our fish or sell our equipment. Or some of these people are attempting to build their own brands and eventually have their own store, but they need to start somewhere, right? So why not start through the club and building your brand and building your name and your business through smaller swap meet style events until you can eventually one day potentially have a retail location or a warehouse location, right? Um,
Yeah.
and the fun thing about that too is we've had people in the club that have gone through all of that, whether they were former owners, operators, distributors, everything. And so you can literally find somebody in your club, generally speaking, that would know a thing or two about what you're trying to do, especially the younger people. So I'd say if you have questions, engage, ask them, ask some of your OGs in your club or at Coast if you're listening. Ask people, how do I do this? How do I set up an automatic top off system from my, my setup in my garage, right? And there's actually going to be people that will have answers for you, So it's really good.
Yeah, one of the things that really surprised me is I was kind of excited because to me, Madaka fish are relatively new. Um, I've known about them. I know that in Japan they have a long history
Mhm.
where they've been keeping them for years now. But it seems like maybe the last 2 or 3 years I started seeing more information about them here in the states. So I know for at least this region of the country they're relatively new. I don't know how prevalent they've been in the rest of the country. But the one thing that I've always found fascinating or that has intrigued me about them is the fact that based in our where we live, those are fish that you could potentially keep outdoors 24, every all year long. Um, because
They're
of
very
our
hardy fish. They're very hardy fish.
yeah, and especially for our lower side of the temperatures, we don't get very cold. We don't freeze out. We don't do any of that stuff. So, you know, I it seems like the fish will do well. Um, I know that I've heard they can tolerate, but I guess it depends on the species. They can tolerate a little bit higher temperatures, not necessarily for extended periods of times, but they can tolerate a little bit more than most of your tropical fish, and that's what I find really interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool fish. I mean, you obviously have to know your genetics, understand, you know, extremes are not always the best place to be keeping your fish at in regards to,
Mhm.
the range that they say they can be kept at. You still want to have it stable and have a good space for them. But I the thing is, I see Medaka growing worldwide in the sense that there's people all over, not even just here in the United States, but literally in Europe. Obviously Asia's been loving Medaka, but all these other places in cold climates, warm climates, tropical climates, and they're like, hey, I can put this thing in a little patio tub outside, and that's my little. I don't have a big space to have koi pond, but I love seeing this really beautiful fish that sparkles from the top when I view it or from the side, right? Similar to a koi, and I think that that's the draw, is that it's not something that you need to spend so much energy on. If you have the right little stable environment for them and setup for them, you really don't need to stress out about them the way you would say fancy shrimp or you know fancy fish like angels behind me, for example, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things that I think people are starting to see the benefit of how what a wide range of colors that you can get from Medaka. So that's starting to catch on right now in North America for sure.
Yeah, and that was the thing that I had no idea how many different color variants there existed. That was really nice to see that. But it's
Thousands.
funny because I consider the Medaka fish, you know how everything, I guess in the hobby there's trends, right? And right now, I don't know, we're at the peak. We might be on the downside of the nano trend. But I equate rice fish as nano kois. That's what I kind of associated with.
In my opinion, the nano trend is just heating up.
Okay.
I think the thing that I kind of noticed is that um, I wouldn't say the younger generation doesn't like what the older generation likes, but I would say a lot of the older generation, maybe at that time in their life, something that was new and fresh and exciting was like the cichlids,
Mhm.
right? Or the rift cichlids from Africa, etc. And that was really fun for them at that time when they were younger keepers, right? But right now, the trend for the younger keepers is they have Medaka on social media that they're seeing and they're learning about. And you have brands talking about them like Aquarium Co-op with their videos talking about Medaka. Shout out to Aquarium Co-op as well, being the title sponsor of Medaka Fest. Corey sent us, over $1,000 worth of swag bags and products and stuff for the event. So I think the community of fish keepers are starting to recognize that nano fish are a little bit simpler to keep, stable, as long as you're maintaining your water, right? But like 10 to 20-gallon aquariums are really popular. And we're starting to see so many of these smaller ones too, like the nano aquariums from brands like UNS and, Lifeguard and all these other brands that do these really cool bookshelf style tanks, right? So,
Yeah, I think, and that's just something that I've kind of been alluding to for a while is with cichlids, as beautiful as they are, they tend to get big.
yeah,
And when you have big fish, you need big tanks.
exactly. And you need to
So
do a lot of water.
that trend would sometimes limit people from being able to participate because they don't have the place to be able to set up a big aquarium or the financial means to be able to buy, you know, 100+ size gallon aquarium.
Right.
What I've been seeing or what I've been telling people is what I love about nano aquariums is you don't need a lot of room. You could do a 3 gallon nano tank
Mhm.
that you could easily put on top of furniture that you have at home. You could do a bookshelf. You could set it up.
Yeah.
It still allows you to participate in the hobby of you know, in the aquarium hobby without having to have that commitment of a big tank that takes up a lot of space.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people live in places where they're not allowed to keep big aquariums, but you could easily disguise a little nano aquarium into like a plant or something that when people at first glance don't realize there's fish in there, they just look at some plants and some greenery and it looks nice, you know, and it doesn't take a whole lot of room.
Mhm.
That's why I keep saying that I really like the nano aquariums because it opens up the hobby to a lot bigger audience that
Absolutely.
that that have been kept out because of you know, they just don't have the room to be able to do a standard aquarium.
I think that coincides too with the fact that aquascaping has become much more prominent in the industry. You know, of course, through the history of Takashi Amano and Planet Tanks, and now we're starting to see, you know, aquascapers that do miniature planet tanks and terrariums and vivariums and all these cool things with not just fish, but you know, like I was mentioning, we also support, for example, verdant vivariums, and they do frogs, right? And they do a lot of plants. So there's a lot of crossover with animal lovers, right?
Mhm.
Fish keepers are more likely to also have potentially some other pets, and vice versa. Reptile keepers, you know, ZoomEd, they were a major brand sponsor for us for AquaSwap, and they are huge in that space. But they also do fish, right? Because they just like fish, right? So shout out to Gary over at ZoomEd and the team over there. They were a vendor at AquaSwap, so it's great to see the brands really understanding that the value of being the FaceTime with the community that they serve as consumers. They come to these events because we invite them to our events, for example, and you know, they get blown away by the amount of people that show up. You know, I think a lot of the first time vendors at Medaka Fest this past weekend were surprised as well with the amount of, you know, people we had show up at Nolan, something like probably 300
Oh
range.
wow.
Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, and that's what I was I know there was conversations going back and forth about the numbers, but I knew you guys had easily exceeded the lower threshold that you guys were saying about 200. I go, no, there's definitely more than 200 people here
We hit
because
200 in the first hour, I
yeah.
would say, because we had the counter. You know, Nolan was basically going on it, and the first after the first 150, you know, we had to obviously tend to other things. But over the course of the day, we saw a lot of people come and go. A lot of families showed up. You know, we had an ice cream truck vendor there. We had a food
Mhm.
vendor, you know, to help with basically making sure everybody was fed. Um, and in that sense, you know, we wanted to create an event not just for obviously the AMA and Medaka Fest, but a way for a hobbyist to bring their friends and their family and to show like, hey, like this is something I'm kind of into. You know, you can kind of enjoy it with me and just enjoy the festivities, even if you're not a fish keeper yourself, right? We had a
Yeah.
balloon vendor for like the kids to have some balloons. You know, I had a little parrot made for me. That was really nice. Um, so, you know, again, it's for the community, and it's basically to help build a stronger community, so that people can feel welcome to join the club and have a stake in it, right? Because we want, just like everybody, we want more of the younger audience to be part of us, so that we can, you know, they can also eventually take on more responsibilities and help, you know, manage the club, right? So we all have a
Yes.
call to serve at some point in our lives in some way, and ideally, maybe some of them can find their way to us and help out with running the club.
Now for the events for the club for Coast, you guys did Aquasup. Is that what you guys call it?
Yes, Coast Aqua Swap. Our first one was
Okay.
2024, and then we had one just in April.
So that's one that you guys do. That's going to be like an annual event that you guys are going to be doing for the club, or
Yeah, it'll generally be every April or so. We're
Okay.
aiming to kind of kick off that spring summer season, right, for the community down here. Um, about a month after that, you have the NorCal Sacramento Aquarium Society's event, the FinDig. So if you travel up down south to up north, and then I think also Arizona, they also have their event, uh, Sake, right? They
Mhm.
were basically doing it the same weekend we did it for Aquaswap.
Yeah, I wish they didn't.
I mean, ideally we would like to not coincide all the time, but it's hard to plan things with everyone.
Yeah.
Just this past weekend, the Medaka Fest coincided with Verdant Vivarium's frog summer frog
Mm.
fiesta, and again, they're another partner store of Coast, right? So they had a little miniature event, and we called it a double header to promote both events because they were kind of close by to each other. So it's going to happen. You know, you're going to have events that land around each other. You can try your best to plan around it, but the funny thing is, I think we still had members of that club from Sake come out to Coast Aquaswap because they're on different days, at least I believe Saturday versus Sunday for us
Mhm.
it was. So you know, um, ultimately, maybe we can work something out in the future.
Yeah, alternate the weekends.
Good for
That
you.
that would, yeah. I'm being selfish because that way I can go to that one and then I can go to that one and
Right.
no, but the reason I was asking, oh, for the aqua sup because for the club, um, that event, do you have to be an active member of Coast to be able to go participate and be involved with it? Is it just a club member thing, or are you guys kind of opening it up to maybe attract potential new members?
We open it up to attract new members. So
Hmm.
this past year, it was a $5 admission for everybody to attend the event, right? But not just that, we gave new members the opportunity to join our club, Coast, for $20. Normally, our annual membership fee is $25, and it renews annually for another 25. But you can join the club for the first year for $20 at not just Aquaswap, but we also did it at Medaka Fest. Basically, $5 off our membership fee, right? And so you can join the club. But then during Aquaswap, we also provided another way to attend the event, which is if you bought a membership with us for the $20, you also could get up to 3 or 4 of your family members in for free. So basically, it's like you're paying for them with your membership by just being a club member, right? And then
Okay.
by then joining the club, now you have access to using your digital membership ID card, which we renew that annually every year. And then if you show your digital ID card at one of our local fish store partners, that validates you for your discount code. So that's how we try to build our ecosystem of a healthy ecosystem between the fish stores, the retailers, the consumers, and the hobbyists, and then of course, your wholesalers and distributors, right? Because if people just come to the club and they're like, I just want a good deal and I just want to get stuff at auction for cheap. Well, yeah, that's great, and sometimes you will get great deals for yourself doing that. But you know, you have to think about the best deal is not always the best deal for everybody. How can we make it a win-win situation for everyone where everybody can benefit, right? If the breeder is consistently selling their stuff for so little, they're not going to eventually continue breeding and bringing that fish to auction, right? And vice versa. If the local fish store doesn't see the value of members attending and going to their store and buying stuff for the aquarium supplies, substrate, etc., why would they help support Coast, right? So I think our members have been really good about recognizing the value that we're trying to build in our network, and ideally, basically, sometimes Coast members will come in and they won't even use their discount code, just because they care about the store doing well. They like the owner. They don't need, we ask for a $20 minimum before you ask for the discount from Coast, but
Mhm.
oftentimes, they don't even want to take the discount because it's about supporting the community and the store and the owners as well. So that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, and especially now with local fish stores, they're having a hard time. I keep seeing stores close all the time just because they're
Yeah.
not getting the support. And we keep hearing the community complain about it, but they're not doing their part either of going and supporting their local fish clubs. So I mean their local fish stores.
Right.
And so it's got to be a two-way road. If you're going to want these stores, you got to be able to support them, because a lot of people say, "Oh, I can get that cheaper on Amazon." Yeah, you can, but if you want to have the availability of being able to go to the store and picking up stuff once in a while, go shop there too. Spread the love.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot more online fish stores nowadays, which is great. Like, I think it's awesome that we've starting to see more successful online retailers. Some of them are partners of C.O.A.S.T as well, like Dan's Fish, for example. He does really well. But the reality is, if local fish stores can't survive in the areas that they serve, that ultimately means that shuts down a lifeline to the hobby, because now that owner's network is no longer, it ceases to function, meaning the wholesale relationships, the distributor relationships, etc. And that's not necessarily a good thing in the long run, because you're not going to have the same access to variety, right, of products or of livestock when the market contracts. So like I said, I do see things in a different way. I try to, I guess, do my part to counteract that. Um, Obviously, with what we're doing at the club level to build these events, and to kind of create the value for these fish stores to want to partner with us. And we've seen a lot of growth this year at C.O.A.S.T with a lot more partner stores wanting to work with us and joining our partner program, because I think they see the value that we bring in the community by having members that actively are engaged now with helping them out in their local area. So it's tough times right now for every industry, it seems like, but definitely for the local fish stores that are struggling, make sure you go out there and maybe you don't need to buy fish from them, but you can buy substrate, you can buy your tools, you can buy your filters, you can buy your fish food, you can buy live food. There's so many things that you can get at your local fish store, that or pet store, not even just local fish store, but local pet store even, um, to help
Yeah.
support your community.
Yeah, for me, it would never make sense to order fish from somewhere else if you got a local fish store, because I'm of the opinion that I like to go be able to see them before I buy them. Whereas
That's
if you're buying online, you're
that's
taking a gamble.
Yeah, sometimes, like, I know so many fish keepers that still have that enjoyment of wonder when they get to go to visit their whatever their local network of stores is. But there's an excitement to go in and see what's new, or oh, I didn't know that fish was going to be here. I need that right now. It's just one of those things where even if you're not actively looking to buy, just attending it, right, and coming and seeing things and talking, and sometimes that's enough. We don't always have the room, right, or the space or the need for more fish. Um, but sometimes, when that multiple tank syndrome hits, you just got to do it. I got to have that. I've been waiting for that holy grail fish, right? I
Well,
saw a lot of that at C.O.A.S.T. I saw a lot of people were like, I didn't think I was going to buy a zebra pleco or L236, super white pleco today. But you know what? It looks amazing, so I'm going to get it, right? So some of our vendors, who weren't even selling Medaka did well at Medaka Fest as a fish vendor or as an aquarium hobbyist or so. So it's awesome.
yeah, I think MTS is a natural process that most hobbies are going to go to, because that's how you learn
It's
where
stages.
your happy medium is, because
Okay.
you're gonna go way past that reasonable zone, and then you're gonna go, no, I need to scale this back to a manageable number. But it's, I don't know of a fish keeper that hasn't gone through that. It's just, I think it's a rite of passage where you're just
Absolutely.
gonna go, you're gonna grow to the point where it's overwhelming, and then you're gonna have to stop and go, okay, no, I really need to get realistic about this. What's the right number for your situation? But I think that's
MPS
something.
or multiple tank syndrome was like the coined term existed way before the term was coined, right? Yeah, that's been a
Yeah,
thing in the hobby for probably decades, right?
yeah, I have serious admiration for those people that can just keep one tank, and they're committed to that, and they're just one tank, and it's like, wow, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
Uh, for Coast, are you guys having any other events that are, I guess, out? Obviously, you have your monthly meetings and stuff like that, but any other big events that you guys are having before the end of the year or anything like that?
Well, little Easter egg, you know, I'll share it here. We are looking at potentially being involved at the upcoming October event for Aquashella
Okay.
in LA because that's their first time coming out to the West Coast. So we are looking at that, but we need to engage with our membership first, get a sense for, you know, if it's something that we should be at. But I think we should. I mean, it's one of the biggest shows in the industry. I would love to just basically meet the kind of people that come to that show, right? And just talk to them
Well,
about you know the club and of course about fish. So
what's definitely going to attract people from the local area, those are going to be your main attendees, is people that are there and might not be aware that you guys are around as a fish club. So that's a good opportunity to reach potentially new members.
right.
Now, that being said, have you guys participated at all with the Aquarium Super Show?
Oh, the one coming up in Super Zoo, you mean in Vegas
No,
or
well, there's the one that happened this last June.
oh
I,
the LA Pet Show?
Yeah, the LA Pet Fair. Well, I guess it's going through a bunch of different names because it used to be the Super Reptile Show for a long time, and then
Uh,
it's under the LA Pet Fair, and now I don't know. It's just the name changes.
they have a section there for the freshwater fish at the LA Pet Fair or Expo. I'm not sure which one it is right now myself, but you know, we do have members that travel there. Um, we've had a little bit of involvement with it, but I think the fact that they do focus on so many pets and types of things that it's not a really focused enough for us that we feel like the engagement for the fish section is where we'd like it to be. But we think it's a great show. You know, it's just something that for us, you know, we were setting our sights on. Hey, like, what can we make of Aquashella coming to California, right? Because they're normally out in Florida or in the East Coast. Um, and of course, you know, we have a
Yeah.
lot of our fish store partners attending, and of course, some of the vendors that were there at AquaSwap and at Madaka Fest are attending Aquashella as well. So it's kind of interesting, of course, to see like, oh, who's going to be there? Well, it's funny because the fish community can be a lot smaller than you think. You know, a lot of these vendors travel, and a lot of our members travel. So we'll see a lot of familiar faces for sure at Aquashella.
I don't know. I think I'm having my system glitch
Oh, you're good. I got you back
because it
on.
was
I got you back on there.
okay.
Yeah, in terms of events for this year, big events, I think Aquashella in October is kind of like the last big one. We do have a member appreciation event at the end of year, kind of like a little pizza party of sorts, where we get
Okay.
together and kind of host maybe like a bigger auction, like a mega auction type event for our club. But in terms of swap meet style events like Aqua Swap in April, and now Madaka Fest that just passed this past Sunday on the 27th of July, I think we're pretty capped out for this year. You know, we're going to be looking at next year looking to next year rather for building our events for those years.
So the obviously the next one that you guys are getting ready for is going to be the one in April that you guys were talking about, the Coast Aqua Swap.
Coast Aqua stuff, yeah. I mean, it just passed, and it feels like wow, we're already, you know, we're going to be up on it pretty soon. Right? We're going to have to start planning and organizing for that again. You know, one thing I have to do for this coming year is really evaluate if the center, our Fountain Valley Senior Center that we typically do this at, is going to continue to be enough space for our little event, right? Because the first year we only booked out 1/3 of the space that was available to us, right? This year we booked out the entire center. But parking was kind of tough, right? Because it's a
Mm.
limited amount of space, people come and go. And we recognize the challenge with that and the fact that we had a lot of people that, you know, they were just circling around trying to get parking, right? So it's the growing pains. You know, we recognize that there's something that we could potentially do there to help ensure that we have even more traffic in the coming year. But we got to do our research. We got to basically figure out like what's a nice venue that can support what we're trying to accomplish, and in such a way that they recognize that we're a nonprofit organization, right? We're doing this for the community, not for profit. So
Now it's I don't know if you guys do this or not because, like I said, I've only been in one of the meetings, but one of the things that it would be interesting, and I don't know if you guys have looked at this, is like what what the club in Sacramento does, where they'll live stream some of their presentations like that.
mhm.
Maybe doing like a hybridized what Cram Co-op does, where they have a membership that you could pay for the people that are not necessarily within, even being in an LA area. Sometimes trying to get to traffic makes it difficult to get out to the other side of LA. But having something where members could pay a membership and still be able to get access to some of the presentations and stuff like that. Is that something that you guys are currently doing or thinking about doing?
It's a great question, Jorge, and it's one that we've definitely thought about. How can we basically provide our network of members that can't always make it to the monthly meetings? How can we give them the ability to either live stream or view a presentation for a speaker that they missed? Um, there's two things to that. The first part is we want our members to feel like they're getting a lot of value from being in the club to begin with, right? So to provide another, paid aspect that they have to pay into, it's something that if we were to do that, I would want that paid function to really basically support the value that they're getting from it, right? Right now, we basically are doing these presentations. When the speakers allow for it to be recorded, we will record and then post it to our YouTube channel. Some
Yeah, I was
speakers,
going to say,
you know,
because you could do that behind what you would call a membership paywall, but
mhm.
maybe have it where if you pay the full membership for the club, you get a code, or you can set it up where they would have only paying members would have access to that information, so that
Great
it's
idea.
not just
Great
publicly
idea.
posted.
Yeah, I like that idea a lot, and I think that's smart. I think maybe in the future when we've maybe had a little bit more traction on that, I think that I can see that being a thing once we kind of get the members on board with it. But for now, we have a Coast YouTube page that we share our videos for. I think we have something like 4 or 5 speaker presentations on there. We have some fish room tours. Like we just did Stan Sung's fish room. He's of Ultimate
Yeah.
Dream Fish, right? The Cichlid Bros, they just went and visited him too and did a video last month with him after our video. And that was a nice behind the scene, more intimate kind of video that we shot to kind of show, because we were invited by Stan to come and see his space with a lot of these fish keepers that he has kept in contact with over, decades of friendship, right? So me being a newcomer to the club and being kind of one of the younger members, like I would never have gotten access to meet Stan and to see his fish room and record that if it wasn't for Coast. And so the benefit though is that I know a lot of other members would not have that privilege to come and see Stan's fish room in person. So I was given the permission to record his fish room and showcase it so that people could see what a beautiful gallery type setup that he's done with his home and with his fish.
Yes.
And I think a lot of people were like, "Oh my God," when they saw his setup, and I was blown away. And I'm just sitting there like taking it in, and I'm like, "Man, like this is how it's supposed to be," That's how I felt when I sat in
Yeah,
his.
he's got it set up like almost instead of having pieces of art, they're
That's exactly
aquariums that
it.
seem to be framed into the wall.
It's
And
beautiful.
it really does get that that gallery feel, the lighting that he has in there, the
Mhm.
textured background that he put in there. It just all ties it in and just makes it look. I'm gonna
And
be
you're
honest.
just talking about
I'm
the
not a
setup.
big
You're
fan of the
not
fish
even
that he
talking
was.
about the fish. The fish that he has, or some of those were extremely
Yeah,
rare, and like you can't even get those fish. Where is that from? Oh, it's from Africa, right?
yep.
Like, so it's just it's a different level of fish keeper, and I have a lot of respect for Stan, and he's very friendly and maintains good ties with Coast. So he's a busy guy though, and he also is part of the Ultimate Dream Fish team, right? as a creative. So shout out to Stan. Thank you again for letting us come film your fish room. I think that's one of our best performing videos on our page right now. So if you
Yeah.
haven't checked it out, check out the Coast
No,
Fish.
I did. I was on there. I was looking at that. As a matter of fact, I didn't realize it was the same one that the Sickler Bros had done because they focused more on his where he has the desk and the tank in the back.
Right.
I remember seeing that one more, and I don't know if they went into the other side where the one that you showed that looks. That's why I didn't recognize it because you showed that one,
I'm a
and it
VIP,
wasn't until
so that's why I got access to that one. Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I don't know why they didn't film that. I was supposed to be there that day that they were filming, but I had something come up, so I would have seen them filming with Stan that day. I was supposed to shoot a follow up video, but I got busy. So yeah, but one day I'll go back and we'll definitely do another follow up video with Stan. And what I like about that is again the fact that I've been able to be, given the privilege to meet with some of these names in the hobby who are, they've done this for a living or they are professionals in their own lane, right? But it's an amazing thing to have a community of people from all walks of life that share a common interest and can be friends from it. So that's something that I personally really appreciate about being able to build those relationships through Coast.
well, I'm gonna tell you something as a fish nerd. I always have an appreciation for watching people's fish rooms, and I that's one of the things that I thought was really cool that you guys were doing for the club, for your club members, because a lot of these people that are club members are not necessarily have a presence on social media. They don't
Yeah.
care about doing that.
It's a
But
personal thing for a lot of people. They don't really need
yeah,
to share. Yeah, and I get that. I totally get that.
but a lot of people wouldn't mind sharing it. They just don't have the means of doing it.
Yeah, we've
So
had
it's
people reach out to us be like, "Come film our fish room." So it
and,
happens.
and I and I
Yeah.
think that's really really cool because it allows not only the members that are because you never know what people have when you see them at the meeting, right? It's kind of like
Totally.
just what they bring for the swap is as much as you know, but to
Right,
get an
right,
opportunity to
right.
see what their operations like,
That
that
oh, you're
really
working with that? Oh, I've been looking for that. Right. Actually, I filmed our president's fish room, Ross Freeman, Finder of Fish on Instagram, and after our video, because we were trying to show the club, he was our first video fish room tour that I did. But we were trying to show the club, hey, if you want your fish room filmed, or if you want to kind of see what we're doing with other people's fish rooms, like this is the first video. Check it out with our president, right? So shout out to Ross for opening up his home and fish room for that. But after that video, he had people reaching out to him like, hey, I want those gold ocellatus. I want those red bushy nose plecos. Like, come on, man, give me those, right? So he actually got a decent amount of people reach out to him for it and show him love. And now he's like, he goes to travel. He's like, Ricky, I don't even know who people are, and they're coming out to me and they say they know me because they watched my video. And I'm like, well,
yeah.
that's social media for you, man. You're on YouTube. You live
I'll tell you
forever on
what.
the internet, Ross. Long after your days are numbered.
Yeah, and I noticed that even my videos when I go and fail somebody's fish room, they tend to do a lot better. They're just the better performing videos. People
Mhm.
are always curious. I mean, it's and even for the people that don't necessarily have fish rooms, but just because you sometimes you get to live vicariously through watching somebody else's stuff. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
or you get motivation to go, oh, inspiration to do something similar to what they're doing and stuff like that. I think that's
1000%.
what I think that's the big appeal of like fish room tours, especially like private fish room tours for people, just regular people, not necessarily like
Mm.
a store or something like that.
Right, right, right. I'll tell you, seeing Stan's fish room the way I was able to, or his whole tour the way I was able to in the gallery experience, like I've never been to Japan and seen like the ADA galleries, or I haven't traveled enough, in the aquarium side of the hobby to say that I've witnessed like some of those beautiful Galleria style aquariums, or Green Aqua out in Europe. They do some amazing work too. But in the States, it's a little bit like we're a little behind, right, compared to like Asia and Europe when it comes to the value they place on the beauty of aquariums, right? So to be able to see a nature studio kind of like uh, Stan's, it really did inspire me. I felt like, so this is kind of what it would be like if I had the ability, like, or rather, what does it look like when somebody has the ability to create, what their little oasis of what they value and how they, what they see in these fish that they keep, right? So there's an appreciation for seeing that even if you don't like something or would never keep something, the fact that you can see how someone else does you learn a little bit from that. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, like I said, I just really enjoy that. I know that your guys' presence, and I don't know if it's because it's just easier to upload stuff onto Instagram, but anybody that's really interested in knowing what's going on with you guys, Instagram is definitely the best place for them to get up to date information, what's going on, what's happening, and you guys are constantly posting stuff on Instagram. So
yeah,
anybody that's interested in finding more information about Coast, I would encourage you to go check them out on Instagram. Is YouTube something that just not having the time to keep it up? I mean, because I know that's the one thing, you spread so thin.
I would say I wouldn't say it's an afterthought. It's still very important to us, but the fact is, as I was mentioning earlier with the speakers, we do try to showcase the speakers that allow us to record, but some speakers they don't allow it because
Yeah.
they're speakers that make money traveling the country with their shows, so they can't allow for us to record it, and I understand that, right? That's okay,
Mm.
but where we are allowed to showcase and provide the benefit, like we will do so on our YouTube. And my hope is that as we grow as a club and we get more and more, hopefully, members that want to, help the club, maybe we'll get more young blood that enjoys handling more aspects of, and I can help maybe delegate more responsibilities to people to help take care of those areas, right? Because again, it's a hobby, and it's something that I do for fun, being the vice president. But we have our real life jobs, we have things that we have to
Yeah.
do, our real life responsibilities. So I invite everybody who is, not even just Coast members, but if you're watching this and you're out in the East Coast or somewhere else and you've kind of wanted a community but just never took the time to do so, take 5-10 minutes to check Facebook out, to check your Discord, look around to find out, do I have any outlets for my hobby, and can I be involved? And you'd be surprised, a lot of times the clubs and the members who are already there are happy to have new members come and show interest and engage. So uh, as introverted as fish keepers may sometimes be, coming out to the club is always a fun way to let down your guard and talk about things that you enjoy, which is fish, shrimp, whatever it is you like.
Yeah, one thing that I was wanting to ask you because I was curious about it, being that we live in a digital world now. For example, you and I are having this conversation and we're nowhere near to each other. Um, as a club, is there an interest to, because it would just seem to me that would open up the opportunity to get other guest speakers that probably just don't have the time to travel to be able to set up something where at the club meeting you set up a presentation, a live stream, for lack of a better term, where the person is where they're at and you guys still have the club meeting. At the end of that, you have your traditional swap and all that, but your guest speaker, which just happens to be on digital format. Is that something that the club has considered, or is that something that gets frowned upon?
I think the club has definitely considered, how can we maintain a little bit more of a digital presence with, say, like podcasts or live streams and the nature of that. But the challenges aren't just with the members and us having the people and the manpower. The challenges can also be the fact that sometimes we have some issues at the actual center with connection or with
Mm,
internet and various things. And so, like, we don't want to provide a subpar experience by
yeah.
doing something and then it not working because the stream is just slow or whatever the case is, right? So, you know, we have talked about doing pre-recorded potentially, right, and having something that we can showcase and view, and then in that nature. But I have to give our president Ross Freeman his roses here. I want to say Coast brings out a lot of speakers across the fish verse, right? From all walks of nature and all walks of life, from different places, whether it's Chris Biggs in Canada, or Rusty Wessel, who's involved with the ACA. We have Gabe Posada coming this Sunday,
Yeah,
who's
I saw
Jack
that.
Discus, right? He's involved in that area in Florida, and so we have a lot of the Coast Network does grow far, and again, it's because our club does travel and has gone back many decades with the fish keepers involved in it still, right? We have like the godfather of fish, John Neiman's, right? Still going strong. Shout out to you, John. Keep trucking, right? And he has a whole lineage of people that basically like he's brought into the hobby or he's helped with the fish industry and the fish game in their way, right? So I think it's a beautiful thing. It's one of those things that you don't really know what you've got until you go out and seek it out and help build it out. Sometimes you have to be the change that you want to see too, right? Like when I joined C.O.A.S.T, I didn't have the things that we have for C.O.A.S.T today, but I thought about the ways that we could build it. I thought about what can this potentially become if we put resources and time and manpower to it. And I think it's trending in the right direction, right? Because we're starting to see all the work that we do chip in and build a momentum. So it's fun to see, and it's nice to see the community really engage with it the way they have been.
Yeah. Like I said, I know that I've been following you guys, from the outside looking in, and I do notice that you guys, um, more than any other clubs that I've seen, have been able to get, uh, you know, I guess not necessarily just I guess name recognition within YouTube to be able to come out and be as guest speakers. Um, and that's always been, that's always going to be an appeal as a club because it's gonna draw people. I mean, and the people you're trying to draw, it's probably the ones that it's gonna draw to is the guys that are not part of the club, and
Absolutely.
and it could be, and I don't mean guys, and just and
People.
people
Yeah,
in
right.
general. Um,
It's crucial, to have a really good speaker program,
balance.
and that's
Yeah.
where Ross, again, as our president, he's also the person that manages kind of who comes out to C.O.A.S.T in the speaker for the year, and he does a great job. Obviously, attending ACA, and he travels a lot for fish still. He's retired, but he loves it, right? So he goes out everywhere and meets everybody. So in doing so, he gets to meet a lot of people who we wouldn't have had otherwise, right?
Mm.
And so I don't know if a lot of our club members recognize that or understand how much value Ross brings, not just as our club president, but really as our speaker engager, because he's the one that really books everybody and shows them around town. And I think the fact that people recognize how hospitable C.O.A.S.T is because of the work that he does, the things that he does that people don't see, that's the thing that really draws a lot of respectable people in the industry that want to come in. They don't even just like, oh, do you guys want us as a speaker? No, they're like, when can I come out as a speaker? I want to come out, right? Like, they even come to us and say that they want to get on our calendar, for the upcoming year. So that's really great. Like we love that. Again, it's a whole ecosystem. The same way we take care of our fish in an ecosystem or planted tanks in an ecosystem. It's how can the clubs, the retail partners, the community, the people who are basically, the researchers, the ichthyologists, all these people who make our hobby what it is, how can we support that?
Yeah. So you guys are not having trouble booking speakers for what it sounds like. You guys are pretty solid in that aspect.
I think I'll say I think Ross has a good handle on that. Yeah, we are trying to get more speakers from the West Coast region in the coming year, more of like a split compared to everyone from everywhere next year. Simply because we are trying to be smarter about how we manage our budget.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that speakers do cost a lot when you have to house them, when you have to deal with plane tickets, especially if they're international speakers, right? So I really hope our club and other clubs recognize that and come to C.O.A.S.T if you're part of a different club and you just kind of want to see how we do things, or you kind of want to pick our brains or ask questions about stuff. Like, we're open to it. We recognize that doing great in our area is just one function, but we do want to link and make connections with sister clubs that are kind of the like mind, right? Like Sacramento Aquarium Society. You have a lot of clubs down here in Southern California that we're affiliated with, not just the AMA, which is starting to become a nationwide chapter, but a lot of clubs locally that visit us and are at our events too. Like this Esky Club or the Killy Club or the or Scape, for example. So a lot of different clubs that we are kind of intermixed with in the greater SoCal area.
Let's see. There's a question here. Is there anything? Let's see. Is there anything you picked up from a guest speaker that you would like to see more commonly practice, or you would like to see more speakers do?
Hmm. Let me think about that. I'll come back to that in a second.
I guess I don't know how much of it is. I know that I've been to a couple of them, and I still see a lot of PowerPoint stuff. And I think
Yeah.
with the advent of stuff that
Right,
the way
right.
things are,
Yeah.
I don't understand why they're not doing more video, because that would be a little bit more interesting than just the slide with information on it.
Slide decks. Oh, sometimes the slide decks come with videos, so we'll give them a little credit, right? But you know, I would say you have a pretty good point, and I think that how we engage with our audience, right, especially in as things grow in the digital format, how a speaker can kind of come to the club and not just show what you've done, but really engage and teach and be involved with our members, right? We really care about that, right? Because if you're coming and you're just sort of like, this is our PowerPoint, this is what I did, that's great, but it's not the spirit of what we're doing, right? Like, that's not quite. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to bash on anyone that does it this way, right? But recognize that when you are coming to a place that is not your home, but you're entering another community, right? It's your opportunity as a speaker to really engage and learn from this section of the world, right? If you're not from it, so it goes both ways, right? If you're just coming and you're like, this is what I do, and that's it, then I feel like there's a little bit missing there because you haven't really made a connection. Right?
Yeah.
You're just preaching to the choir, and I would hope people can hear that message and recognize that there's so much more to that, right? With the audience, that you can you can be interactive, and at Coast, our audience gets interactive. Like, they'll ask questions. We interrupt people's presentations all the time. We're a rowdy audience. Okay, we're not going to sit there quietly. So keep that in mind if you're coming as a speaker to Coast. That you know, we have a way about things that we like to run. So
Yeah, Aquabuzz, that's he's one of your guys' members there at Coast. He was asking if Gabe Posada is coming down for this meeting.
he is. So he's our speaker for uh, this coming Sunday at the Fountain Valley Senior Center. So August 3rd from 12 to 4 p.m. Our speaker usually speaks for the first hour from 12 to 1, and then we host our live and silent auction for the hours after that. And then we kind of have just whatever club functions and things where we just commiserate and hang out and talk about stuff. So that's kind of how we do it. But he'll be there. I'm hoping he'll bring some Jack Watley discus fish to the auction for us. Sometimes we're blessed where speakers will, if they're connected in that way, they'll bring something that they work on or that they are selling. If they're like a retailer or online seller, for example. Like, for example, Nationwide Aquatics, George, he, before Aquaswap, brought us some Vulcan quarries,
Mhm.
right? Rob McClure, he brought us some really rare Corridoras. They were Aspidoris albater. Yeah, those are really beautiful Scleromistax type quarries, right? So they're not the original
See,
quarries. But
for
something
me, I don't know if it's something that I'm just noticing. Maybe you that you're a lot more involved with clubs. Is it just me, or are quarries all of a sudden starting to? I'm starting to see newer names and species.
they're getting
Is that
discovered all the time. Like, new
okay?
quarries are getting. There's so many quarries, and there's a whole subsect of people that love quarries the same way people love Medaka, right?
Yeah.
We could run a whole Corridora festival, but I don't think right now that's not the trend, as you said, right? Like, Medaka are kind of like the hot fish at the moment, and for a good reason, right? Like, it's because we are coming into a place in a time where the biggest cost for your aquarium is going to be your heater. It's not your LED light. And if you
Yeah.
can have a nano aquarium that's heaterless, your
Yep.
costs are way, way, way lower monthly. So, consider what that may mean. I know a lot of people have transitioned away from the tropical fish to do more outdoor or cold water fish, or neutral fish rather, in the sense that they don't want to have to continue that upkeep. So, don't quit the hobby, but maybe find ways to change your hobby up and do something that's more uh, budget friendly and conscious towards your time and your energy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know we've been at this for about over an hour, but and I know you're a busy guy. Is there anything else that you want to mention about Coast that we haven't probably touched on that you wanted to kind of bring up before we get out of here?
Um, well, first of all, thanks Jorge for having me. I appreciate again just the fact that you wanted to kind of highlight what Coast is about and what we do, and you wanted to interview me to kind of to know how we do it. Um, Honestly, all I would say is if you are a newer member, we had a lot of new members come this year, join our club, but people join and then they don't show up, right? So if you're a new member
Uh,
or a former
I'm one
member,
of those.
uh, come out, show up, take part. Don't just buy and sell, but if you come out and you enjoy what you see, maybe think about what you can do to help. I'm not saying that everybody has to lead or do any work all the time, but volunteering at Coast is fun, and a lot of our members volunteer here and there with whatever they can do, right? Um, and if not at Coast, if you're somewhere else in the world, somewhere else in the states, I implore you to go check out your local communities club and see what you can do to build it out, right? Because right now I'm starting to see the work that we put in basically influence and create waves for other people who are now recognizing the value of these type of swap meet events that we did with AquaSwap and Medaka Fest. We got people asking us already, when's the next one? We want to do a cichlid fest or we want to do a live bearer fest. And it's
Yeah.
like, hold on, guys, like, hold on. Like this is not a paying job, right? We can
Yeah.
only manage so much in a year. But the fact is that the vendors loved it. They were really happy. The ones that came to AquaSwap this year and vended with us, and the ones that came to Medaka Fest as well. A lot of first-time vendors showed up that took a risk, right? Like a lot of people that showed up to AquaSwap who
Yeah. I
never
was going
were
to ask you.
vendors, and they were like, "I want to be a part of something like this," and then they came on and they did Medaka Fest. So it's like you see the community kind of growing, and I see the crowds that come into our events, and I'm like, wow, like this is all from social media. Like that's pretty crazy, right? So
Yep.
it's a fun
I was going
time.
to ask you. I was going to ask you, what was the feedback like from the vendors' perspective for this last event that you guys had?
It was amazing. I mean, everybody who attended had a great time. I think sales wise, I think a lot of our vendors basically came up and made money. We only at this year asked for, I think it was $40 or so per table.
Mm.
Uh, that's probably going to have to change next year because we gave people such a big space that we're going to have to figure out how that's going to work. But that being said, we want everybody that attends as a vendor to make money. We want them to be successful. So we do our part, right, to promote the event, to bring the crowd, to establish the community. Now, as a vendor, you do your part to bring the right fish, to bring the right
Yeah.
equipment, and to make sure the prices make sense for everybody so that everybody wins, right? We come to these things, we spend time together. Granted, we all have our families and other things that we like to do, but we come together and we enjoy the hobby. So why not let everybody win, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's the benefit of like the AquaSwap and of Medaka Fest is that even though we're not an Aquashella type event, we're more of the grassroots level of, hey, let's just bring the crowd, let's bring the community together, let's throw on a huge function, let's basically make it fun. We brought a DJ to Medaka Fest that we didn't have at AquaSwap. We had Mel Hawaiian Fishkeeper, Hayne Fishkeeper, as an MC at AquaSwap. But him having the DJ with him at Medaka Fest, it was like a whole different experience and vibe too. I mean, what was your thoughts about Medaka Fest? It was your first time being at Nolan's and seeing how we
Yeah.
were doing. So why don't you
I
tell
was
us about
super
that?
excited. I was super excited.
Came all the way
I
from, what time did you wake up and come out here?
I got up at 3 o'clock.
Wow.
I got up at 3 o'clock.
That's dedication.
Uh,
That's dedication.
I was on the road. I was on the road by, I think it was just under 5 o'clock because I did a little live stream or a short from it, and I think it was like 4:57, and I was driving down there because I knew it was going to take me about 3 to 4 hours. My biggest fear was hitting traffic once I got to San Diego and Irvine,
Everyone's
because I
fear.
know those are the choke points. Those are usually the choke points for when traveling. Luckily enough, it was early in the morning. I got past San Diego, I think, by 7 o'clock, and I came into Irvine right around 8:30 or so. I was at your guys' shop.
You were pretty
You
much there
know,
right bright and early. You were there the
yeah,
whole day. I think, right? It's really
yeah. The only thing
really appreciate
I
that you
was
did that.
tired.
Yeah.
I was tired, and I didn't stay till the very end. I think I left like around 2 o'clock, which I kind of regretted because then I had a couple of friends show up that I was supposed to meet up with, but I didn't think they were coming to the event. But it just seemed like I'd been there a long time because I was there since the morning. But I
Right.
wanted to be able to maximize my time by being able to film the store, do a video on that, and then do a video for the event.
Right. And you had to
Um,
get home too. You had to drive home.
well,
So
yeah. I mean, I guess I could have stayed at my brother's for the night, but I took days off from work and I had to go back to work the following day. So I was like, I was going to be cutting it, where I would have to get up, drive home, and then get ready for work.
well,
And
I
I don't
hope
want to
you
do that. I
enjoyed
don't
the
like
event.
doing that. I'd rather be at home and get ready at my own pace.
I hear you. Yeah. I hope you enjoyed the event and we made it worth your while to come hang out with us. Like it was really fun to see you and to see a lot of new and familiar faces show up and basically just enjoy the day, right? It's like, wow, like who thought a little Medaka fish, something so small could bring out so many people, right? But maybe it's not even about the fish. Maybe it's just the fact that people want to become a part of something and they enjoy these little events that we do. So,
Yep.
we'll definitely keep it going.
I'll, I'll tell you what, the one vendor that I saw the busiest was the one for, I think it was Fish Fiend or
Medaka,
AMA, the
Dr. King.
American, yeah, where they were having to scoop with the little paper net. That
Oh
thing,
yeah,
I
the
don't think I
AMA
ever
table was
not saw on
great.
there.
But see, that's the thing. Like, shout out to the AMA and that organization and the people behind that group right now, because I was basically telling Daniel and some of those guys too before, like, hey, we need to organize this thing because it has to make sense for you guys to keep building momentum, right? And so
Yeah,
they got it going, and shout out to them. We're proud to be partners with them at the Medaka Fest. But like that game that they did was a hit. $10, as many fish as you wanted to scoop. I saw kids getting like 20 fish, right? So like, I don't know if that's going to be the same next year, but I think stuff like that is the point. It's like, it's not about how much the vendor made, for these fish, but it's the fact that you're helping create memories for the families and for the kids attending, right? Like there's something that we all can recall back from childhood or earlier time in our lives with fish, and why not help create those memories, for the next generation.
yeah. Yeah, no, and I think there was a certain technique to do it because I would see people that would try to scoop it on the first scoop, and it would just because it was what people, I don't know, for obviously for the people to listen to this, it was a net that was made out of paper, like rice paper, I think. So
Yeah,
there
very
there was
thin
a
paper. You have to be gentle with it. And if you were just
and
like, I need to scoop that one, and it broke, you're done. Like as soon as the net's broken, your game's over, right? So you had to is a balance. So you have to do it
yeah,
like soft and sweet. You got to make sure that fish is like, not like scared, running away from you, swimming away rather. So, but the thing is, I saw a lot of people catch a decent amount of fish, and I also saw some people say, "I caught no fish." Right? So
that
you got,
made up for the ones that were taking like 20 at a
yeah,
time.
yeah, had to average out, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
But
but
those kind of games and bringing people together for fun like that, it's the whole point. Like if we can inspire people to enjoy the hobby and have fun with it, maybe that means the hobby will be in a better place than when we left it.
yeah, for the vendors, I thought it was very smart that they had obviously their straight lines that they were trying to sell, but I think the ones that had brought in like even their coals or there was just kind of like because not everybody's trying to buy a straight line. Some people just want to have some fish. I thought that was very smart. I think it was Restock that was doing that. They had a whole tote that was just nothing but they just kind of do a bunch of, I guess they're just color coals, but they're still healthy fish.
Yeah,
And you could just pick out of that because, like, I know for me, I didn't know which one I wanted. I would have probably just taken the scoop out of that and said,
right.
"Oh."
that's the point, is that like you come to a Medaka Fest, and whether you're a breeder or a hobbyist or a novice beginner, maybe you just want to try something fun as a Medaka, but you don't really want the high end 25 or $35 price point for a single fish, and completely understand that's a lot of money to spend on a fish, right? But sometimes the vendors are doing $5 for fry, or 10 or 15 for something that isn't quite established yet what the grade is, right? But it's going to be good genetics. It's going to be a
Yeah.
healthy fish, and so not everybody is in it to breed. Not everybody wants to. That's not the hobby for everybody. You could,
A lot of
but
people just want pretty fish.
they just want to try it. And so what I liked was that we had different vendors for different hobbyists. Because again, maybe you wanted Medaka, but more than likely, what multiple tank syndrome. If you have an interest in Medaka, you more than likely have other tanks with
Yeah.
other things or fish or whatever, right? So again, I saw OC Pleco's mark for he sold 236s and zebras all day, and he made a good amount of money for himself that day, right? So if you bring the right stuff to the right event, you will make money, right? Like
I'll tell you which other vendor was super smart by doing this, and I don't know how many she sold. It's Fisheria Ria.
Rhea, yeah, she's great.
She had the little pond kits ready to go. If you were,
Mm,
she had them with the vessel, the substrate, everything you needed to get started.
yeah,
Because you were there to buy fish, so you just buy your fish there, and then she would sell you a setup that was ready to plug and play when you got home.
yeah. The amazing thing with these types of events is you get a lot of like DIY, 3D printed
Yeah,
tools from Japan, things that you just normally would not see in your regular fish store. And it's
yeah,
because it's specialty. It's stuff that like someone brought that from Japan specifically to the event so that you had a chance to buy it. You didn't even have to go to Japan, right? You might pay a little bit more for it, but the reality is like you saved yourself a trip to
yeah.
Japan, and you got something that you probably would have had to pay extra for shipping, right? So I think I think we had like 20 vendors or so. We were initially expecting only like 10, 15, but it kept growing and growing, and like the interest kept growing and growing, and so that's just a sign that we think there's more opportunity to build this type of stuff, to build these events out into a stronger community in the area overall.
Did you get any reach out after the event of people that said, I definitely want to do this next time?
Absolutely. I mean, we got almost, I would say, a majority of the vendors from AquaSwap.
Mm,
They felt that way, and a lot of them were vendors that attended the first one and then attended the second one as vendors, and they were so happy to see how much smoother we were able to make the second one, because the first one was like a third of the size, right? And you can imagine so many people packed into a small space. It's not going to be comfortable. So we expanded that, we made it more comfortable, and we made it more enjoyable. And I think the people that followed us from AquaSwap to Medaka Fest, uh, they again benefited again from having involvement in the second event, right?
yeah.
So it's the thing to look out for is, if you've been paying attention, you'll notice that the same people who have been attending our events are starting to grow their influence, their profiles, their brands. So it's a thing. You have to put your time and energy into building your name or your brand, right? If you're trying to sell fish, and if you start doing these types of events, it's going to happen.
Yeah, and I think the spacing that you guys did from your guys' swap for the club and the time of the year that you guys are so lucky. You guys are I know you guys complain that it's hot, but trust me, it's not hot. It's a
It's hot where
beautiful
you are.
day.
It's hot where you
Yeah,
are.
I come out there, it's just like it's a spring day for me. And I've enjoyed. I see other people kind of, struggling a little bit, but
Well,
the
you know what?
temperature was perfect. It was
The
beautiful.
thing is, for Medaka, where you're at, and in Riverside County, where like Medaka Fiend and others kind of are in that area, closer to LA County, the hotter weather has been amazing for Medaka. Like they are
Uh,
breeding even better than our breeders down here in Orange County, because it's been a little bit of a delay in the heat, right?
yeah.
The season for Medaka means the hotter it is, the more they spawn generally.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Obviously, you don't want to keep them out in heat that's extended, like we said at the beginning, but
Yeah.
it does seem like if you got it dialed into the hotter temperatures, like they're going. So, if if you're listening and you're in a hotter area, you might want to take notes.
Yeah, like what I've always envisioned doing out here is we have a covered patio, and I've kept, like, right now I have a bunch of just fancy goldfish, not goldfish, guppies in a
Mm,
little planter that's kind of a pot. Um,
nice.
the only problem is in the winter I need to pull them in
Yeah.
because it starts getting too cold.
Right. Right. Right.
And but my whole thing is I want to turn that into a little Medaka, little breeding thing,
Yeah.
and I'll be able to keep that outdoors, kind of inconspicuous for my wife, where she doesn't really realize that I'm breeding fish. She just
Right.
kind of, what I need to get a hold of is good pond plants that I can put on there so that it looks pretty. You know, when she
Yeah.
sees it, that is like, oh, okay, I kind of like that. You can do
Yeah,
another one of those.
absolutely. Yeah.
that's
Sure.
that's the trick. Well, I know I've taken up quite a bit of your time, Ricky. I really do appreciate the fact that that you accept it. I know you were thanking me for having you on, but the reality is, without your acceptance, this doesn't happen. You know, if I don't have guests that are willing to come on, I don't have a show. You know, I don't have a podcast. I don't know, whatever you want to call this. So I'm always very appreciative of the fact that you guys accept the invitation when you come on. I really look forward to seeing you guys in the future. I know this is just the beginning of I guess if you partnership, friendship, whatever you want to call it. I
Mhm.
definitely feel very welcome every time I go. Every time I get closer to the coast. I, this is the second time I'm involved with you guys as far as doing something. The very first time I attended a meeting, I was there when Dr. Anthony was just right before he left,
Dr.
and
Anthony Mazerol. Yeah, he
yeah,
was a post member. He's gone now, but you know he
yeah,
was at the first Aqua Swap, and he's obviously super respected in the hobby. So, shout out to him.
and so yeah, I definitely will try to make an effort to be out there at least once a year, especially when you guys have any of the
Twice a year.
events.
You should come out to
Okay, well,
Aqua
twice a
Swap.
year.
You should come out to the Daka Fest.
But I'll definitely, if you guys do Aquashella, I'll probably definitely see you guys out there. That is something that I've got booked, and I've got
Be a party.
the
Come out. Yeah, I mean it's a. I'm interested in seeing how that one runs too. We
yeah.
also have
So am I.
Super Zoos in Vegas coming up in next month.
But that's not to the public. That's closed to
Yeah, that's right.
vendors only.
It's for the vendors. You're right. But
Yeah.
that's still something that through Coast we have some access to that. So like we may go check that out, or at least some of us may. Like Ross, he might go check that out and report back to us. So that's kind of again one of the cool ways that because we're so engaged in different ways, we sort of have ability to pivot and get speakers and do fun stuff. So
Yeah, because I know I looked into the Super Zoo. My daughter lives in Las Vegas, so I thought, oh, this is an easy one for me because I just drive up, go visit her, and then do the stuff for there. But nah, you can go in as a content creator, but you need to have like 20,000 subscribers. I'm a long ways from that.
we're gonna get you there. We're gonna
Maybe in about 10 years from now, that might be the case. But yeah, no, I had already looked at it, and although
yeah.
they did drop their requirements, because I think the first year they wanted like 50,000 subscribers. It's like, wow, that really limits it to who
That's a
can
really
attend those.
small pool. Yeah, people
Yep.
that can do that. Well, you know what? I mean, I'm really excited for Aquashella. That's the one that we have coming up in October, at the end of October, out here in LA. Um, again, I hope Coast can have attendance and a table potentially there, but we still have to evaluate our budgets. We have to see what's available to us, right? I know you can split tables at
Yeah.
Aquashella, but they're charging like $400 to split a table. So
Oh
that's
wow. So
yeah,
it's $800 for yourself then.
the house always
That has,
wants, right? Like they're gonna
yeah.
make their money. But if we can maybe partner up with one of
I'll
our,
tell you what, you could go as a content creator. You know that, right?
that's true. I mean, but we do want to have a presence that we can potentially gain new membership. So that's the
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying.
we want to
You show up
represent
there,
ourselves and
you show up there, you take all your flyers and stuff for Coast and hand them out while you're there. But no, I think having a table is definitely the right call.
mhm.
But I also understand the cost behind it. Their pricing is geared towards vendors who are going to be able to recuperate that cost, whereas you're not.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
maybe it
wish
would
they
have
had
to
like
be
a
to reach
section
out.
for like the groups like nonprofits and orgs like us to have a space there because we're not necessarily retail partners, but like there's a community through us, right? And I don't know. that's for them to figure out, I guess.
Yeah.
But we still want to be there because the foot traffic sounds amazing, and
I
who knows?
used to know I used to know people involved with them. I haven't. The only one that I think is still kind of remotely involved with them is Sam Scales. So
He'll be
maybe
there.
he's somebody
Yeah. And he was at
you
both
can
Aqua Swap and Medaka Fest, so
yeah,
he'll be
somebody maybe he can help you guys out to figure out who to contact where you might be able to get a discount because you're not going to that event. You're there to, potentially you're a nonprofit. So there's got to be something that could probably be worked out.
yeah, hopefully we can figure something out, and we can be there just to again support the community and show everybody that you can come join as a member of Coast and be a part of the what we're building.
Well, before we get out of here, how can people find you guys? What are your social medias? Which are the ones that is the best to reach out to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, you can always find information about what we're doing on our website, which is coastfishclub.com. Of course, we're on Instagram, Coast Fish Club on Instagram. Our Facebook group, again, uh, Coast Fish Club on Facebook. There's two different ones, though. There's one that's an older group from, I don't know, back in the day that has 800 members, and then there's a newer one that has 2,500. That's the new one, is the 25. So sometimes people, I wish I could go back and get that edited and changed, but you know how Facebook is, right? So things are just not easy with them. So, you know, find the right group for Coast Fish Club, but join it and be part of our Facebook group and come join the meetings. And all the information you need for how we run things is on our website. But in terms of like updates, we have our newsletter on our website. You can join to get monthly newsletters about what's upcoming, our club speakers, etc. So, Facebook, Instagram, and our website. Those are the three top places to engage with us.
Yeah. So, and then your other platforms that you guys usually have stuff on is Instagram. Do you guys do anything on TikTok at all, or?
So yeah, I mean, we started a TikTok, but we didn't really want to continue on with it because
Okay.
the stores, the retail partners, are more engaged in Instagram. So
Okay.
like the community, while there's a lot of content viewing and a younger generation and audience on TikTok, there's not as much brands and retail support for mom and pop on TikTok. So
Okay.
not to say every industry is that way, but at least for the aquarium and fish industry, like it's great for the fish content creators and stuff. But I think in terms of like networking, Instagram and Facebook is still easier to allow us to connect with our audience. So we kind of stick to the Instagram and to Facebook primarily.
Okay. All right. Well, Ricky, thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy, and I know time is the one thing we never get back, and I appreciate you giving me this time. So, with that being said, thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you guys soon. And you guys take care.
Thanks, guys. Take care.